And welcome to another special episode of the Bakari Sellers podcast. Today I have a legend. I mean, I guess that's the only way that you can describe it. Someone who has taken his art to an entirely another level. Mr. Courtney B. Vance. How you doing today, my brother?
You know, I'm a little tired. We have begun the process of pressing forward with 61st Street. And it is, but it is all good. The project is so, near and dear to all of our hearts, and we just want people to get ready for the journey, because it is a journey, and I'm excited.
I'm excited for it as well. You know, one of the unique things about our show is we start them all kind of the same way, by having our guests walk us through the arc of their career to introduce them to our listeners. But people know you, so we won't necessarily do that. I would like listeners, though, to hear about the moment when you decided that acting would be your gift and your craft. What was the moment when you realized that acting would be your calling? And talk about your first breakout role.
I didn't know what I was going to do. All I knew is that I wasn't going to settle for not being happy with what I did. My mother was a librarian, and so we grew up in the library, as we called it in Detroit, the library. We grew up in the library, and my sister and I's love of learning is fixated right there. The museums and the library, because the main library all the museums were around the main library in Detroit. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew was that I wanted to follow in my uncle's footsteps, Lee Daniels, to go to Harvard. So I got to, I tried to figure it out. I tried the internship with the law firm and the mechanical drawing, maybe architecture, and I just couldn't figure it out. But I knew once I got to Harvard with all the young people, we would figure it out together. And got there. And I also knew that I had promised the drama teacher. I had 3 lines in the school play my senior year, and so I had so much fun. I promised the drama teacher that I would, do plays when I got to Mr. Ronnie Clemmer, that I would do plays when I got to Harvard, and I put that in the back of my mind. Got to Harvard, ran track my first year, and realized I was running high hurdles. I was a hurdler and state champ, but I realized the hurdles were 3 inches higher. I was not, and but I was a second hurdler on the depth chart, and so it was good. I got my varsity letter, and I realized I'm with the same group of guys. So I said, I'm going to, I can't do this much longer, and I came over my last hurdle in my freshman year, and I told the coach that I was going to do plays, because I knew if I did plays, I would meet people, and a different group of people every time I did a play. It wasn't about acting or theater. It was just about meeting people so I can figure out what I wanted to do. And he was very upset. And I said, I'm so sorry, but my competitive athletic years are done. I'm done. I need to find something that, something else. So started doing, my first play was a play called experimental play called Mars. And the Harvard Law School student was directing it. And we had an amazing time. Young people from all over Boston were in the cast, and met my girlfriend, for my high school, my college sweetheart. And then my second play, I called Story Theater on the main stage at Harvard. My aunt came and saw it and said, "This is something you're really good at this. You should do this as a career." And that's when the light bulb went off. And then the rest of it was just, what's the plan going to be? Because I initially the plan was I wanted to take a year off and go to Banff, Canada, and to an amazing academy up there for a year, and take the year off from school. And I gave that plan to my parents, and they were like, "Please, baby, don't do that. Please, you're going to extend our payments. Please don't do that." And I had to come to, I grew up right there in front of them. And I said, through my tears, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do my work study jobs throughout the year and save up all that money during the year and give you the money so that in the summers I can do acting workshops and things. And they said, That's a plan, baby. And then after that, I said, and then I'll know I'm going to go to drama school after I graduate. And they said, okay, you pay for that. We got Harvard. If you go to drama school and get in Yale or wherever, you're going to have to pay for that. I said, okay. And that was our agreement. I was free. And the rest of it just, took care of itself. But the hard part was getting to that place where I knew what I wanted to do and was committing to it. And that my Harvard years where I was going from 5:30 in the morning till when I finished rehearsal at Boston Shakespeare Company till about midnight, and crashed at my aunt's place in Brookline, got up at 5 in the morning, got back to the dorm where my papers were. I had a paper route delivering New York Times, Harvard Crimsons, and Boston Globes to Harvard Yard. Finished that at like 7, had breakfast at 8, class, till whenever 1, 2, and then hopped on my bike and rode across to the Boston Shakespeare Company, where I did my, rehearsals. We had shows at night, and crashed at my aunt's or my girlfriend and did the whole thing again. That was my last 2 years at Harvard.
Let me ask you, your parents sound a lot like mine. Mine said that I could go to any college in the country as long as it was an HBCU and they would pay for it. So they kind of limited it, but they gave me that guidance. But let me ask you this. It's a question that I ask a lot of actors who come on, but which do you enjoy the most, the stage or the screen? And talk about the thrill when you were younger of being on the stage.
I was trained on the stage, so that's initially all I knew. I didn't know anything about film. Yale School of Drama at that time did not train actors to go into the film business or television, because everything was separated at that time. Film actors did film, TV actors did TV, the commercial actors did commercials, and the soap actors did soaps. So it was very segregated. But when we got out, we realized, and I was blessed to be able to do that Fences launched me. So the theatrical world knew me when I came out. So I was on stage just about every night for the next 7 years, and just got burned out from all of that. The film was just a way for me to actually do something different, because I got burned out in New York. Went to LA and started doing films and television, and but the plays had you have the whole play to guide you with stage, and that and I said to someone the other day that every actor needs to know what that fear is like, to have to be able to carry, to be able to be in rehearsal process, knowing that you got to get up in front of people, not really knowing who you are yet, and go through the preview period. And when I did Lucky Guy in 2012 with Tom Hanks, I hadn't been on stage since 1993.
Oh man!
So getting my sea legs back, but I always start with I don't know anything, and build from there. And because if I don't, I'm just extending the process. You gotta figure it out. You gotta start and have the courage to be able to walk yourself through into the place where you get in front of the audience and you start to discover because the Lloyd Richards said years ago, there's the Dean Emeritus of the Yale Drama School and the master director said at a certain point in the process that writer knows more than anyone else. At a certain point in the process, the director knows more than anyone else. At a certain point in the process, the actors know more. And at a certain point in the process, the audience knows everything. And so you have to leave room for the audience to inform you. And when I get up, as George C. Wolfe told me one time when we were doing Lucky Guy, he said, "Courtney, you're like a dumb blonde. You didn't do anything in rehearsal, nothing. You did nothing in previews. But after previews start to, about a week into previews, you started to, all kind of stuff started to happen. Things became funny. And I said, yeah, I don't know anything. I'm letting everything fall over me and just wash over me. And then all of a sudden when the audience gets in there, I know. And I said, you're a dumb blonde too, George, because you did the same thing. You just you're just moving us around till we get in the theater, till the audience gets in there and starts to tell you where the play is. So yeah, we're the same person. We're both dumb blondes. It's all good.
Before we get to 61st Street, I wanted to reflect a bit on my favorite role that you played, and that's of iconic trial lawyer, former attorney for my dad, Johnnie Cochran, in the FX series American Crime Series. What all went into how you prepared for that one?
I read Jeffrey Toobin's book 2 times.
I'm going to tell Jeff that, too, when I see him. He's going to be thrilled about that, too.
I'm going to see him in about 3 months at our 40th Harvard reunion. So he knows the story. He knows that's what I did. And there's sometimes when, it's for me, the hardest part is figuring out the way in with a character with a role. And sometimes the way in is to do a lot of studying and to do your research and, then. But on this one, because Johnnie was so overwhelmingly known by everyone, and I felt that if I went and he's got there's so many videos and so much footage of him, and I said I don't want to be imitating him. So I said I just need a kernel I know we're going to be doing 3 and 4 episodes at the same time, so I'm not going to have time to look at video. Is my chin right? I'm not going to have time for that. So I'm going to get a kernel so that when I'm doing things, moving fast, I'll be able to go, it's like a tuning fork. Got it, let's go. And so the moment for me was when I was reading his book and his mother said she had 4 boys or, maybe I think there was a daughter in there, 4 or 5, I can't remember. But she said, Johnny's the one that can go to one of these white schools, I think it was LA High or something like that, and be able to deal with these white folks, and they will take him higher. He went to LA High, they went to UCLA, and and he was put in the mix. I said, that's exactly what happened to me. I went to Detroit Country Day on scholarship and was able to from there segue out to Harvard, and the rest of it happened. So I saw that our trajectories were the same. That's all I needed, and the rest of it was just simply. The scripts were great. I knew that the audience would forgive me whatever nuance I missed.
I mean, I don't think you missed one, but I was also a big fan of Lovecraft and your portrayal of Aretha Franklin's father, C.L. Franklin. Mm-hmm. Do you find it more difficult to play characters that people often have a frame of reference for, like you just talked about, like C.L. or Johnnie Cochran, or characters that are completely fictitious, like a George Freeman?
It depends. George, with a CL, Reverend CL, because it was a rhythm of how he preached, and a very specific cadence, and so I had to. And there's tons of, just like with Mr. Cochran, there's tons of, and because he was one of the first pastors to sell his albums and sell his sermons, I just went on YouTube. Put in Reverend C.L. Franklin, all his sermons came up. And so I just listened and listened and listened and just, getting a rhythm with how he spoke and how he preached, and gave me a sense of who he was and how he walked and how he, dealt with people. And so with that, I just, with him, I did listen to everything I could and read his biography and read a biography of his, and to get a sense of the time period. And because I know people are going to be coming at me with, how can you play he's so evil. I said, but people are people. We all got stuff.
People are complicated. We complicated.
We complicated. Everybody is. And that was a complicated time. Anybody who came up in the 20s and 30s and 40s when they were just burning and lynching and dragging Black folks with no, Emmett Till, if you grew up doing it, knowing about Emmett Till, knowing that the white man did what they did, and they still walk. That does something to you, and and there's a residual that everybody who grew up during that time dealt with it, and the people that the world came down on every time the most was Black women and Black children. Mm-hmm. So, and the church members knew their pastor. They knew he wasn't perfect. They knew he had issues. They ran him out of Memphis, because he had a baby with a 12-year-old girl. So, and, he was far from a perfect man, but all them pastors back there, MLK was far from a perfect man, and they were brothers. They were best friends. Whenever Martin Luther came into Detroit, he stayed with Reverend C.L. Franklin. So, they were all doing it. They were all in on it. And it was a time period. And so I can't judge it by today. You can't judge it by today. And we got mess in our time period that you let a man, just incite an insurrection, and you still don't want to convict him. So I ain't got nothing to say about C.L. Franklin when you can't take care of your own business. So that's me.
Preach. Let's talk about 61st Street.
You go segue from that real fast.
No, I'm not. I enjoyed it. I just let you go. Let's talk about 61st Street. What's it about, and who is Franklin Roberts?
Franklin Roberts is a man who, at the tail end of his professional career, he's about to retire. 2 weeks from retiring, asked his wife, "Did I do anything? Did I make a difference?" With representing, hundreds and maybe thousands of people that came through his as he went through courtrooms. That's 26th and California. That was the courtroom. And did he do anything? Did he help anybody? And his wife said, "Baby, come on now. You know what that place is like, and you did the best you could. Let's move on. You got to take care of your 16-year-old autistic son now, and I'm gonna get into politics, and we're gonna flip this thing and reverse it and have a wonderful rest of our lives." And in the midst of that, life happens.
Mm-hmm.
A young man who everyone knew he was on his way the night before he goes to college on a scholarship and on to the Olympics. And, he was me. He was a young man who had everything lined up for him, even though everything was against him. And we were so proud and knew that he was on his way. And life happened. And all of a sudden he's in the run of his life. And I find out, and I've segued from my pity party with my wife, and I'm, chewing on something and getting ready for a wonderful Friday and recognizing that my life is about to turn for the next phase. And I'm talking to Tib, and my wife and son are on the couch, and my son is listening to something with his earphones. And my wife says, "Yeah, they found somebody who killed the cop." "Ooh, really? Who is it, baby? What happened? Who?" "Moses." No. My life just found right there. Because I said, they're not getting him. I don't care about anything else, but that comes a time when something's more important than everything else. And it was more important than the promise I made to my wife that I'm going to take care of my son and be home. And she knows that because she knows me. But still, she was absolutely right, and I was absolutely wrong. I was absolutely right, and she was kind of wrong. But, it was one of those moments where we all know that's not black or white. That's a Sophie's Choice moment. That's a Franklin Roberts moment. It'll be known as from now on as well, that he made the choice for his conscience. Sometimes you've got to come to that place and I think in every life where where the rubber meets the road, and it met the road there for him. And he made the choice and said, "Let the chips fall where they may." And they fell. They absolutely fell on top of him. And he said, "My shoulders are broad. I've come to this place for such a time as this. I'm here. Everything I've done was for this moment. Let's go."
The show is tackling a tough subject, and that's the city of Chicago policing and how black folks interact with law enforcement. What type of preparation went into this role to portray Franklin Roberts?
There's so much that he's dealing with. There wasn't enough I could do. I recognized that this was going to be an emotional roller coaster, and it was going to be a technical roller coaster because I'm in the courtroom as well. Eventually, I've got to go into the courtroom, and when you go into the courtroom, you're going to deal with all the courtroom requires, which is openings and closings and cross-examinations. And I had a prodigious amount of all of those, in addition to being in just about every scene. So it was a journey that I had to really just fix my mind that this is what's going to be. There are no weekends. I'm just going to be grinding this out for 9 months. And of course, COVID happened during that time, so I wasn't able to go back home for about 6 months. The family came out a couple of times, but it was rough. It was very, very difficult. But the preparation was my life preparation in terms of how are you going to physically, emotionally tackle this mountain that you have to climb and then come back down.
I mean, I'm sitting in my law firm here as we record this show, and I can't help but realize that you're a lawyer again in this show. Is it something about you and lawyers? Do those roles just attract you, the fight for justice? And what did you see in this script that made Courtney B. Vance say yes?
I saw a very complicated man and a very complicated situation, and that's all I needed to see. That's my passion. That's what drives me. Finding those roles that we all can go, yeah, man, damn, that was me up there. That's what this is. This is not me. This is you. This is our fathers. This is our mothers. Andreen Ward was every woman, black, white, dealing with 2 boys who she raised by herself, cleaning toilets for 25 years, doing all the right things. She did all the right things. And now you're going to tell me you're going to come in my house and tell me my boys were dealing drugs. They were not. Now, if we have to fall out, we're going to fall out right now. And that's why in the course of this, when the popo handed her the phone and told her to tell your boy to come in, she told him, this is the most important thing I'm going to tell you in your life, run. And so that there comes a time when you've got to make a decision about who you are and whose you are. And everybody in this film has had to. Mark O'Brien, who played the police officer, he had to make a decision about whose side are you on. And that's a decision that his life spun on. And, so it's a project that forces all of us to challenge what's right and what's wrong. The pastor in the show was challenging me, Franklin, that's not right. I said, what is right? You have to decide for yourself what is right. What's your line in the sand? And my line in the sand was getting that boy off, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do because and I know he did not do it.
Mm. How can people watch it? When can people watch it?
April 10th, we begin. It is on AMC. I don't know. I think it's on AMC and AMC Plus. And it is, there's 16 episodes. We're doing 8 the first season, we're going to show 8 the first season. And then I don't know when the next 8 drop, but folks are in for a ride.
Yeah, man, I can't wait, man. I mean, being that this is the work that I do, I got a lot of lawyers that listen to this show, a lot of people in law school that listen to this show, young lawyers, young wannabe lawyers, man. I hope they all tune in. What are some of the other projects you're working on that you can actually talk about? I learned I had to add that piece to the question when talking to some of y'all because y'all got top secret projects in Hollywood that y'all can't.
We do, and I'm not quite sure what I can talk about. The main thing that in terms of what we're doing, what projects that we're doing, we have several projects that are going to drop very shortly. But the main thing that we want to say is that our production company, which is Bassett Vance Productions, which is we've got a wonderful team around us with Lynette Ramirez as our development vice president and Dwayne Johnson Cochran, our producing partner. And so we're really on top of Angela and I are really about making sure that they're projects that speak to the diaspora, that speak to the collective experience of being of color and that world and what we deal with that doesn't necessarily translate and come in terms of what we see and the of color projects that the industry wants us to say this is representative of who we are. So it's just exciting for us that we're able to now use the leverage that we have to tell stories that are important to us. So get ready.
I'm excited, man. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Thank you for your team around you. You are only as good as the team around you. And not only do you have
that with your part.
Man.
Thank you, Mr. Donnie.
I got a good team around here, man. So thank you for joining the Bakari Sellers podcast, man. We'll check 61st Street out and everything else that you touch. So God be blessed. God bless you all.
Thank you.
It's gonna be